In this video, we're going to rewrite our radicals and exponents in fraction form. It's a shorthand notation. It makes things a little bit easier when you have a long string of things to write, the equations to write. So when you rewrite it, it becomes a fraction. And notice that P is for power, R is for the radical. So if you look in the next example, the index is the R. So this is the radical, index P, right? You could put the P underneath the radical, or you could do the radical and put parentheses and put the P outside, and the exponent outside. That's kind of what I tend to do, right? So P is the exponent. So P is the exponent. R, the denominator in the fraction, the R here, is the index. Or root would be the other thing. And B stands for the base, the number that we're taking all these actions on. Okay, so the first thing you need to be able to do is convert between the two. Give myself a little more space to write here. Okay, so if I have the cube root of 27 to the fourth power, we want to write it in exponent form. I'm not asking you to solve it at this point. We're just asked to rewrite in fraction notation. So the exponent goes to 4, the index goes to 3. So that's 27 to the 4/3 power. Well, remember the index is 2 here. So this is 9. And since I don't have an exponent, we need a placeholder of 1. So that's 1/2. So that's to 9 to the 1/2 power, which is the same square root of 9. And you ought to be able to take it back the other way. So 8 is the base. And then we're going to take the cube root, that's the denominator, the 3, cube root, and then we're going to raise it to the second power. So notice that that 2, or the numerator, always stays, right? Doesn't really change positions. So this is 81. And we're taking the fourth root of 81, and then we're going to cube the fourth root of 81. That's what that means. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and simplify these. And we're going to simplify this without a calculator, which means that you need to know your perfect squares and perfect cubes. All right. So this is 9 to the 3/2 power, so that's going to be 9. And then we're going to cube that. So 9 square root of 9 is 3. And the third power is still there. Now we're going to do the third power operation, right? PEMDAS tells us to start inside the parentheses and move out. So 3 to the third power is 27. All right, let's do number 2. Now we have 4, which is our base, and now we're going to take the square root of 4, and then we're going to raise it to the 5th power. So let's say, I'm going to write it out just like we did over there, so it's going to be in the last problem. So it's 2 to the 5th power. Well, 2 to the 5th power is equal to 32. Okay. All right. Now this one, base 27. I'm going to take the cube root of 27 and then square it. Cube root of 27 is 3. And then we have to square it. That's just going to give us 9. And then let's look at 16. Oh, we have a negative here. Remember in the last unit, what does a negative make this? It makes it a fraction. So let's go ahead and set it up like it's a fraction first. So we have the 1/2 in the denominator. So now we have 1 over square root of 16, which is a perfect square, so I don't have to worry about rationalizing. So it's going to be 1 over 4. Number 5 is, once again, it's a fraction, so it's going to be 1 over 25. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of 25 and cube it. So that's going to be 1 over 125. Number 6, we got a negative again. So now we have 1 over the 5th root of 32. And we're going to take the 5th root of 32 and square it. 5th root of 32 is 2 squared, which is 4. So it's 1/4. All right, let's take a look at number 7. So now we have a negative, right? So we have negative 32, and we're going to take the 5th root of it. Can we take the 5th root of 32? Yes, it is a negative or a number with an odd index. That means that I can take the 5th root of that and then cube that. The 5th root of negative 32, you have to remember, is 2. And then we're going to go ahead and cube 2, and that's going to give me a negative 8. Okay, square root of a negative base is not possible. We can't simplify that anymore. So we'll say no answer, or no simplification on that one, really, is what we're going to say. Okay. And I believe we need to go to the next page now. That was number 8. All right, so now this is more of the same stuff in the notation conversions. It's the same thing, right? We need to convert those. I'm not going to, we already did these. I'm not going to, well, let's convert them back. We only went one way, right? Now we're going to make them into fractions. So let's go ahead and do this. So this is 32 to the 1/5, because the exponent is 1, the root being 5. So let's look at letter B here. So this is 21 to the 2/5 power. Now 9, we'll convert to radical notation. So this becomes the square root of 9. We saw that on the other page. Okay, and this one is going to be base 10, and we're going to take the 4th root of 10. And once we have the 4th root of 10, it gets cubed. Okay, so here are some examples here, right? So we have fractional exponent, and on this one, we are going to convert into radical form. We did a lot of these on the other page. So base is 4. So we're asked to take the square root of 4 and cube it. Since I know this one, we're going to go ahead and do 2 cubed, which is equal to 8. Okay, let's look at 8. Now we need to take the cube root of that and then square it. So the cube root of 8 is 2, squared is 4. So here we go with negative 8. Let's go ahead and take the cube root of negative 8. And then we got to square it. So that's negative 2 squared. That's just going to give me 4. Now, you have to be careful on this one. This one has a negative out front, no parentheses, right? So this is negative 1 times 8 to the 2/3 power. So now I can do this. This is going to be negative 1 times the cube root of 8 squared. Cube root of 8 is 2, squared is 4, times negative 1 is negative 4. So be really careful on that one. Watch out for those negatives. Okay, remember if you have a negative, it's just a fraction. So it makes it 1/4. Let's take a look at number 2. Now it's a square root of 9. And it's, since this is to the negative first power, couldn't see that here, I missed that. So that's going to be 3 to the negative first power, which is equal to 1/3. Remember, negatives make it a fraction. So this is going to be 1 over the cube root of 125, which is equal to 1/5. And number 16, it's 1 over square root of 16 to the third power. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 to the third power is 64. So that's 1 over 64. There you go, guys. On the next page, you'll have several to practice on.